In question 42 of the Summa Theologia Prima Secunda, St. Thomas Aquinas takes on the object of fear in 6 articles and basically says, what is it that we fear and why do we fear what we fear? And these are very interesting questions that he asks. In fact, I think as we go through these, you'll probably say, I never really thought of that, but St. Thomas Aquinas certainly did. So article number 1 says whether the object of fear is good or evil. Now, I think you know that the object of hope and despair is an arduous good. The object of fear and daring is going to be an evil, but he qualifies it a little bit. He says fear is a movement of the appetitive power. Now, it belongs to the appetitive power to pursue and to avoid, right? Either to go towards something or away from it. And pursuit is of good, while avoidance is of evil. Consequently, whatever movement of the appetitive power implies pursuit has good as its object, and whatever movement implies avoidance has evil for its object, because that's why we're trying to get away from it in the first place. But then he also makes the observation that it also can regard good as far as it is referable to evil, because anything that you're running away from, let's say you're running away from or you're fearful of a monster in your closet, is because that could take your life. And so there's always a good that is associated with the evil that you are fearing. Okay, whether evil of nature is an object of fear. So evil of nature would be things like pain and death and that kind of thing. And he says, as the philosopher says, fear is caused by the imagination of a future evil, which is either corruptive or painful, right? So you fear something that isn't right there present with you. It's something that's a little bit removed, whereas sorrow would be something that is present that you do not wish to have there. Now, Thomas says, just as a painful evil is that which is contrary to the will, so a corruptive evil is that which is contrary to nature. And this is the evil of nature, okay, like death. Consequently, evil of nature can be the object of fear. But he does make a few interesting observations. He says it must be observed that evil of nature sometimes arises from a natural cause, and then it is caused evil of nature, not merely from being a privation of the good of nature, but also from being an effect of nature, such as natural death and other like defects. Okay, so we all know we're going to die, right? But sometimes evil of nature arises from a non-natural cause, such as violent death inflicted by an assailant. In either case, evil of nature is feared to a certain extent, and to a certain extent not. All right, so what he's going to say here, and I'll just kind of summarize this, is that somebody who's on death row, like let's say you're going to be put to death tomorrow at noon. He says that person, or if they're on the gallows or about to get their head chopped off in the guillotine, that person, if they know it's inevitable, Thomas says they've lost fear, because it's irrevocable, it's going to happen, so you don't fear something that is kind of present. But he said that because for most of us death is a ways off, we don't always fear it a lot because it's not imminent. Imagine somebody who's 15 years old, or even most of us probably don't think we're going to die in the next year or two, and so it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, is what he's getting at. Article 3, whether the evil of sin is an object of fear. The object of hope is a future difficult good, but possible to obtain, so the object of fear is a future evil, arduous and not easily avoided. From this we may gather that whatever is entirely subject to our power and will is not an object of fear, and that nothing gives rise to fear save what is due to an external cause. Now, human will is the proper cause of the evil of sin, and consequently evil of sin, properly speaking, is not an object of fear. Why? Because we have control over it for the most part. I don't have to sin, right? But he goes on. But since the human will may be inclined to sin by an intrinsic cause, if this cause have strong power of inclination, in that respect a man may fear the evil of sin insofar as it arises from that extrinsic cause, as when he fears to dwell in the company of wicked men. So you may fear circumstances that are going to lead you to sin that may be out of your control, or you may fear that you might fall into temptation, but the actual decision to sin is not something that we fear because it's within our control. You remember the old saying by, I think it was Roosevelt, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Well, who knew? It's actually in the Summa. Whether fear itself can be feared, Thomas says nothing can be the object of fear save what is due to an extrinsic cause, but not that which ensues from our own will, as he already explained. Now, fear partly arises from an extrinsic cause and is partly subject to the will. It is due to an extrinsic cause insofar as it is a passion resulting from the imagination of an imminent evil. So we don't ask to fear, right? In this sense, it is possible for fear to be the object of fear, as a man may fear lest he should be threatened by the necessity of fearing through being assailed by some great evil. If it is subject to the will, insofar as the lower appetite obeys reason, wherefore man is able to drive fear away. In this sense, fear cannot be the object of fear. So again, it all depends on whether or not we have any kind of free will, and whether it's something external or internal is what Thomas is getting at there. Are sudden things especially feared, like a car accident or sudden death or something like that? The object of fear is an imminent evil which can be repelled but with difficulty. Now this is due to one of two causes, to the greatness of the evil or the weakness of him that fears, while unwontedness and suddenness conduce to both of these causes. First, it helps an imminent evil to seem greater, because all material things, whether good or evil, the more we consider them, the smaller they seem. Okay, so we can't consider something, I guess, that happens immediately or suddenly, because you don't have any time in advance to consider it. Consequently, just as sorrow for a present evil is mitigated in the course of time, as Cicero states, so too fear of a future evil is diminished by thinking about it beforehand. Secondly, unwontedness and suddenness increase the weakness of him that fears, insofar as they deprive him of the remedies which he might otherwise provide himself to forestall the coming evil. So the fear of a sudden car accident or something horrible happening, you can't prepare for it because it's sudden, right? And so you don't have a lot of control over it. Article 6 says whether those things are more feared for which there is no remedy. He's going to talk about the pains of hell in here, which there is no remedy. If you get to hell, you're never getting out. He says the object of fear is evil. Consequently, whatever tends to increase evil conduces to the increase of fear. Now, evil is increased not only in a species of evil, but also in respect of circumstances. And of all the circumstances, long-lastingness or even everlastingness seems to have the greatest bearing on the increase of evil, because things that exist in time are measured in a way according to the duration of time. Wherefore, if it be an evil to suffer something for a certain length of time, we should reckon the evil doubled if it was suffered twice as long, and accordingly to suffer the same thing for an infinite length of time forever implies, so to speak, the infinite increase. Now, those evils which, after they have come, cannot be remedied at all, or at least not easily, are considered as lasting forever for a long time, for which reason they inspire the greatest fear. That's why I think if we are really being logical and thinking about it, the fear of hell should be very, very present, because it never ends. And it's something that literally is eternal. The eternal pains of hell should, in a healthy way, strike a lot of fear in us, right? All right, that does it for question 42, article 6 articles there on fear, and we will continue tomorrow with another treatment as St. Thomas continues the irascible passions in this treatise on the passions. God bless you. Thanks for watching.